Centuries of tradition, knowledge passed down from generation to generation, and a way of life that blends the ancient with the modern in a unique way. In every corner of this country, there is a distinct rhythm, a way of cultivating the land, raising animals and respecting nature. And then there's another side, quieter, wilder, and infinitely fascinating. A side where nature still reigns supreme, where mountains whisper ancient legends and rivers run like veins through the land. Yandang, Wenzhou. Nearly 120 million years ago, volcanoes from the Cretaceous period shaped this land. Rivers of rhyolitic magma carved out an impressive caldera. Today, the imposing landscape of Yandang rises, a living expression of nature's primal power. Cut by the Lijiang River, this massif is divided into north and south, two natural realms united by their essence. In the heart of the north rises Mount Yandang, vertical peaks, dense valleys, and waterfalls that seem to emerge straight from myth. Imagine cliffs segmented like the bones of a monumental prehistoric creature. The rocks hold layers, ignimbrite, rhyolite, tuff, remnants of the four volcanic eruption phases that created these stratified formations. Rain and erosion sculpted cliffs and promontories, creating a natural artistry that defies understanding. In the hidden valleys, mist dances between rocky columns, giving Yandang a spiritual aura, immortalized by poets, monks, and scholars since the Tang dynasty. In the 11th century, Shen proposed ideas that anticipated modern science, explaining erosion as the artisan behind this grand natural sculpture. Along the stone walls, temples appear almost hidden. Tucked within caves or sheltered by overhangs, they are havens of contemplation. Today, Yandang has been a national geopark since 2004, and a year later joined UNESCO's Global Geoparks network. More than 342 scenic spots stretch across 174 square miles in the north, with hundreds more in the south. The entire world recognizes its aesthetic and scientific value. Shan Mountain. The experience of Shan Mountain is first captured from above, revealing the unmistakable silhouette of jagged rocks rising like natural fortresses in southern China. Shan, of modest altitude, about 1,152 feet, lies in Hunan, not far from other stone giants that form the Lingshan range, an area designated in 2010 as a UNESCO Natural World Heritage Site within what is known as China Dangxia. Its uniquely sharp, labyrinthine and color-infused landscape evokes geological stories millions of years old, embedded in rocks that defy the erosion of time. The scenery looks like a terrestrial galaxy. Isolated rock formations stand out among red cliffs, adorned with lush vegetation. The trail reveals itself, a precarious staircase carved into the rock, winding and challenging, demanding attention with each step. Walking here is almost a rite of passage, a communion with ancestral earth. From time to time, small platforms with rudimentary railings appear at the cliff's edge, where tourists pause to contemplate. The sensation of standing at the edge, between sky and abyss, heightens the sensory experience, invoking the deep silence of Earth's altitude. Shan in Hunan is a poem in stone. Each peak, each crack, Every curve of the trail, etched into the rock, carries the testimony of geological eras. Here man walks at the edge of the world, but it is nature that leads the way. The trail, a stone staircase clinging to the cliffs. In some sections, weathered steps appear to have been carved by human hands centuries ago, yet are shaped by time and rain. Mount Hashan. In the heart of China, where the echoes of history resonate along the mountain slopes and the wind carries the whispers of the ancients, rises one of the most sacred and challenging peaks in the country. Mount Hashan. Located in Shanxi province, about 75 miles from the city of Xi'an, this natural colossus is not just a geological wonder. For centuries, Mount Hashan has been revered as one of the 5 great sacred mountains of Taoism, each representing a cardinal direction. Hashan is the mountain of the West, a symbol of endings, twilight, but also of spiritual awakening. Perhaps for that reason, it has drawn hermits, monks, poets, and adventurers seeking transcendence. The mountain rises majestically, with 5 main peaks that defy gravity and test the limits of human courage. The South Peak, the highest, reaches about 7,070 feet above sea level. But it's not just the altitude that's astonishing. Hashan has gained global fame for hosting one of the most dangerous trails in the world. Images of wooden walkways, precariously fastened to the side of a sheer cliff, have become icons of adventure tourism. But what today is a tourist challenge was once a path of devotion. Every step along that trail was once an offering, every drop of sweat, a silent prayer. Ancient stories speak of monks who climbed the mountain in search of divine revelations. They left behind the world of men to get closer to the world of immortals. It is said that Laozi, the legendary founder of Taoism, visited Hashan, and that the vital energy, or qi, flows uniquely through those rocks. Pingyao. Located in Shanxi province, Pingyao is not just an ancient city. It is a tangible testament to the urban sophistication and everyday life that flourished for centuries in inland China. Its dark stone walls, narrow alleyways, and traditional houses tell stories that the wind whispers at every corner. Walking through Pingyao is like stepping through a portal to the 15th through 19th centuries. The streets are paved with stone slabs worn down by time, and the facades of the homes display carvings that blend elegance and mysticism. But more than aesthetic beauty, there's a thick atmosphere, almost palpable, as if every corner is soaked in the memory of past lives. The heart of the city beats with serenity and wisdom. Modern sounds are muffled by the thick walls of ancient buildings, and the air feels heavier, charged with the weight of history. Pingyao was, for a long time, a vital financial center of the Chinese Empire. During the Qing dynasty, it became the birthplace of China's traditional banking system, home to the first financial institution known as a piaohao. These early banks did more than store wealth. They connected merchants across the vast empire through credit notes and innovative transactions. The walls that surround Pingyao, standing about 39 feet high and stretching for more than 3.5 miles, are more than fortifications. They are a symbol of a city that protected itself not only from invaders, but also from the relentless passage of time. Jangja Mountains. In Hunan province, where clouds dance between deep valleys and ancient forests whisper ancestral secrets, rise the Jangja Mountains, a kingdom of stone and mist, so ethereal it feels like a dream. This is a place where nature surrendered to art, sculpting vertical columns with the delicacy of a divine sculptor. For first-time visitors, the impression is surreal. The sandstone columns emerge from the mist like silent sentinels from a forgotten age. Some rise hundreds of feet into the air, standing apart from one another, cloaked in vegetation that defies gravity. It is as if the earth fractured, creating natural bridges between sky and ground. Among these formations, silence reigns, a deep, sacred stillness interrupted only by birdsong or the rustle of leaves. Here, time does not pass. It lingers, and those who walk these trails feel part of something far greater, something that transcends ordinary human experience. Jangja is home to a unique biodiversity. Rare species of plants and animals find refuge in its canyons and caves. But beyond its ecological importance, this place is a cultural and spiritual symbol. For centuries, it inspired poets, artists, and monks who saw in its vertical forms a staircase to the heavens. The Jangja National Forest Park, part of the Wulingyuan Scenic Area, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and not without reason. Every trail, every viewpoint, every hanging bridge reveals a new angle, a new story carved by stone. A universe where nature speaks in the language of rock, moss, and wind. Li River. In Guangxi province, winding between limestone mountains that challenge the sky, flows one of the most poetic and symbolic rivers in the country, the Li River. This is more than a body of water. It is essence. A liquid vein that has pulsed for millennia, traversing landscapes of dreams, ancient traditions, and the collective imagination of a nation. The Li River originates in the Mao Mountains, flowing gently southward for more than 100 miles before meeting the Xi River. But its importance goes far beyond geography. It is a source of inspiration for poets, painters, and philosophers, a symbol of harmony between man and nature, the liquid soul of China. Those who travel its waters discover a world apart. The riverbanks are adorned with hills that rise like waves of stone. Karst mountains, sculpted by millions of years of erosion, form silhouettes that seem to float on the horizon. Every bend in the river reveals a new painting, a new scene that feels plucked from an ancient legend. It is impossible not to surrender to the ethereal beauty of this landscape. The rock formations bear names like Brush Peak, Fallen Horse Hill, and Moon Hill. Names that not only describe shapes but also evoke stories. It is as if the river itself tells tales in every reflection, in every veil of morning mist. At dawn, the mist slowly rises from the calm waters, wrapping everything in a veil of mystery. Cormorant fishermen glide across on their bamboo rafts, like ancestral shadows, repeating rituals that defy time. It is a dance between man and nature, between survival and poetry. Gillan Yangshuo. There is a corner of China where nature has become art, where mountains rise from the earth like brushstrokes on rice paper, and time seems to move in rhythm with the waters. That place is Gillan. And just south of it, like a more serene and introspective echo, lies Yangshuo. Together, these two towns form a visual and spiritual symphony that has enchanted travelers for centuries. Guilin, whose name means Forest of Osmanthus, is the starting point for a journey that transcends tourism and dives into contemplation. Its karst landscapes, sculpted by millions of years of erosion, are not just geographic features. They are spiritual, they are symbols, they are poetry in stone. As you walk through Gillan, your eyes are constantly drawn to the sky, for it seems that the mountains rise directly from above. Peaks covered in dense vegetation emerge from fertile plains, creating a surreal landscape that has inspired generations of artists, calligraphers, and Taoist monks. There are no sharp lines, no right angles, only soft curves and fluid forms, as if the earth itself were breathing. But it is the Li River that connects Gillan to Yangshuo, and it is along this journey, gliding across calm waters, that the world reveals itself in its purest form. Yangshuo, at the end of the route, emerges like a whisper, smaller, more intimate, but no less powerful. If Gillan is the gateway to the sublime, Yangshuo is where that sublimity unveils itself with gentleness. Its landscapes retain the grandeur, but the rhythm is different, more human, closer, more inward. Tanzi Mountains. Located in the Wulingyuan scenic area in Hunan province, these mountains are not merely extraordinary geological formations, they are sacred monuments sculpted by nature and steeped in legend. Tanzi means Son of Heaven, a name that evokes royalty, spirituality, and power. And indeed, there is something divine about this range of sandstone towers, many of which soar over 3,200 feet in height. They stand apart from each other, like colossal sentinels watching the world from above, wrapped in clouds and ancient silence. The first sight of the Tanzi Mountains is a transformative experience. Words fail to capture the feeling of standing before this vertical stone forest. It's as if you've entered a forgotten world where gods once walked and left their signature carved into the landscape. Each peak, each rocky spine, seems to contain an untold story. Throughout the day, the light changes the mountain's expression. In the morning, mist covers everything like a veil, creating the illusion that the peaks are floating above the clouds. By noon, the sun reveals dramatic contours, deep shadows, and almost human-like textures in the stone. At dusk, soft golden light paints each column with reverence and mystery. According to legend, Tanzi was named in honor of Xiang Dakun, a leader of the Tujia ethnic minority, who declared himself the Son of Heaven and fought against oppressive forces to defend his people. It is said that after his death, the gods transformed his soul into these immortal mountains as a tribute to his bravery. The legend still echoes among locals, blending history, myth, and geography into a single narrative. Great Wall of China. A colossal serpent of stone, brick, and earth that winds through mountains, valleys, and deserts, stitching together the very fabric of Chinese history. Spanning over 13,100 miles, the wall is not just a structure, it's a declaration. a symbol of resistance, strategy, and a civilization determined to protect its dreams, its culture, and its sovereignty. It was built, modified, and rebuilt over centuries by different dynasties, each leaving its mark on this stone colossus. The idea of a defensive barrier arose even before China was unified, but it was under the Qin dynasty, in the 3rd century before Christ, with Emperor Qin Shi Huang, that the first sections were connected, forming the backbone of what we now know as the Great Wall. An engineering feat and a story of human sacrifice, it was constructed by soldiers, peasants, prisoners, and artisans. And yet, it transcends its original purpose. Over time, the wall became more than protection against invaders. It became a symbolic axis, a cultural backbone, a reflection of the tenacity and discipline that shaped the Chinese spirit over millennia. Every stone laid carries more than weight. It carries history. Beneath the feet of those who walk its path lie the footsteps of countless laborers, the decisions of emperors, the watchful eyes of sentinels scanning the plains for smoke signals on the horizon. Along its watchtowers and bastions, the wind still whispers echoes of battles, urgent messages conveyed through fire signals, and strategies mapped out by torchlight. Every tower is an observatory into the past, every bastion a place for reflection. The landscape surrounding the wall shifts dramatically as it stretches across Chinese territory. In some regions, it winds along the steep crests of mountains blanketed in dense vegetation. In others, it cuts across silent deserts, where the sand hides ancient secrets. Some sections still rise strong and precise. Others have been overtaken by nature, leaving only traces of the grandeur that once was. And yet, it persists, like a whisper that never ceases, like a stone river that continues to flow, even when the human eye can no longer follow it. Puo Zongchang Temple. In northern China, amid the rolling hills of the city of Chengde, stands a temple whose grandeur and symbolism transcend stone and architecture. The Puo Zongchang Temple, inspired by the famed Potala Palace in Tibet, is more than a monument. It is a bridge between worlds, an expression of spiritual and political unity, molded in red and gold bricks. Built in the 18th century during the reign of Emperor Qianlong of the Qing dynasty, the Puo Zongchang Temple was constructed as a tribute to harmony among the diverse peoples of the empire. A symbolic replica of the Tibetan palace, not out of mere aesthetic admiration, but as part of a sophisticated strategy of cultural diplomacy and religious integration. This colossal temple was designed to welcome Tibetan Buddhist dignitaries and representatives of ethnic minorities in a space that embraced them spiritually, while also clearly affirming the power and benevolence of the Chinese imperial throne. At Puo Zongcheng, architecture, belief, and politics walk side by side, weaving a narrative in which the sacred and the secular are intertwined. At first glance, the structure is striking. Its massive scale, vibrant colors, golden roofs, and red walls stand in bold contrast against Chengde's blue sky. Its grandeur lies not only in its size, but in the message it conveys. A vast, multicultural empire can coexist under one sky, worshipping in different ways but sharing a common destiny. Walking through its courtyards, climbing its terraces, observing its carvings and the symbols etched in stone and wood is like traversing a three-dimensional mandala. everything holds meaning. Every statue, every painting, every stick of incense carries centuries of Tibetan Buddhist tradition reinterpreted through the imperial gaze. Yangze River. Across the vastness of China, where centuries intertwine like the fibers of an ancient scroll, flows a river that is more than a body of water. It is the backbone of a civilization. The Yangtze, the longest river in Asia and the third longest in the world, is more than geography. It is liquid memory, an ancient witness, and the vital artery of a people who shaped their destiny along its shores. Spanning more than 3,900 miles, the Yangtze begins in the glaciers of the Tibetan Plateau and flows west to east until it empties into the East China Sea. Along its journey, it passes through breathtaking landscapes, mountains, forests, plains, gorges, and colossal cities. It is a river of contrasts, where the ancient and the modern flow side by side. Since time immemorial, the Yangtze has been the cradle of cultures. Ancient peoples settled along its banks, cultivated rice fields, built temples, and founded dynasties. It bore witness to the blossoming of Chinese thought, the emergence of Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. Along it traveled caravans, imperial boats, humble fishermen, and wandering poets. This river is where the soul of China pulses. Its name, Changjiang, the Long River, carries the notion of continuity and endurance. And indeed, few elements of the Chinese landscape symbolize resilience and fluidity as powerfully as its waters. The Yangtze is also the stage for myths. Legends speak of dragons that dwell in its depths, of gods who shaped it with tears and fury. Stories passed down through generations blend reality and dream, geography and faith, creating a powerful imagination that still resonates in the villages and cities the river touches. Chongqing, Hongyadong. Amid the towering valleys and winding rivers that shape the vast province of Chongqing, stands a place where past and present intertwine in almost magical fashion. This place is Hongyadong, an architectural complex that seems lifted straight from the pages of a fantasy novel, but pulses with real life, history, and modernity. Hongyadong, with its vertical structures stacked along the hillside, echoes the ancient stilted architecture of China's mountain communities. With facades lit by red lanterns and labyrinthine corridors, it is a living homage to Baiyu culture, deeply rooted in Chongqing's history. It is an architectural spectacle that seems to float above the Jialing River, a meeting point between the mystical and the everyday. As visitors wander through its passageways, they are enveloped by aromas, sounds, and textures that reveal a multi-layered China. Restaurants serve spicy traditional dishes, street vendors call out to customers in familiar, nostalgic tones, and street performers enact ancient plays or folk songs. Every floor of Hongyadong reveals a new layer of the city, as if a book is being read one level at a time. The complex spans 11 stories, connecting street level to the riverbank, and it surprises visitors with its ability to preserve tradition amidst urban chaos. In the background, the modern skyscrapers of Chongqing form a kind of glass and concrete mural, while Hongyadong endures as a wooden sanctuary, resisting the march of time. Beijing. Beijing, the capital of China, and one of the oldest cities in the world, is much more than a political and cultural center. It is a living reliquary of Chinese history, where every stone, every street, and every shadow tells a fragment of the ancient past of one of humanity's most complex and influential civilizations. Since imperial times, Beijing has been shaped by the power of emperors, the fervor of artists, and the faith of monks. But it is also a city that reinvents itself with each generation, opening its doors to the future without ever straying from its roots. The result is a multifaceted metropolis where the past whispers while the present shouts. Walking through Beijing is like traveling through time. The monumental Forbidden City with its golden roofs and red walls is a silent reminder of the days when China was ruled by absolute emperors. But turn a corner and mirrored skyscrapers and bustling avenues appear, where capitalism flourishes at full speed. In the hutongs, the city's traditional alleyways, you still hear the sound of old bicycles, the clinking of porcelain bowls, and conversations around a cup of tea. There, life moves at a different pace, more intimate, closer to the essence of a culture that values community, harmony, and respect for ancestors. Beijing is not just an architectural mosaic. It is a stage where the contradictions and dilemmas of modern China are played out. Between ancient temples and luxury boutiques, between traditional ceremonies and tech startups, the city pulses with an energy that defies simple definitions. It is both sanctuary and laboratory. Shanghai. Shanghai is a city where the present propels itself into the future at a dizzying pace. A place where east and west cross paths on wide streets and gleaming skyscrapers. More than a global financial hub, Shanghai is a vibrant reflection of Chinese modernity, shaped by a rich and contrasting history. Located at the mouth of the Yangze River, the city blossomed as a commercial outpost and, since the 19th century, has undergone radical transformations. It was once a foreign colony, a battlefield of political ideologies, and today it rises as a symbol of national ambition. In Shanghai, everything seems possible. Every building touches the sky, every street pulses with energy, and every corner reveals a new perspective. Walking through Shanghai feels like flipping through the pages of a book written in multiple languages. The Bund, with its grand colonial facades, tells the story of a city once divided among foreign powers. On the other side of the Huangpu River, Pudong rises, a forest of steel and glass where the skyline redefines the boundaries of contemporary architecture. The Shanghai Tower, a spiral that pierces the clouds, is not just an engineering marvel, it is a monument to a future vision. But while the eyes are lifted to the skies, the feet walk on ground heavy with memory. From traditional markets to century-old tea houses, the city preserves traces of a past that resists the rush of progress. The giant Buddha of Shan. There is a place in China where time seems to stop, where stone breathes wisdom, and where a giant with closed eyes quietly watches over the meeting point of three rivers. This place is Lingshan, and the guardian resting there is the giant Buddha, one of the most majestic manifestations of faith and human ingenuity. Carved into the face of a cliff during the Tang dynasty, the giant Buddha of Lingshan is more than a statue. It is a monument to patience, devotion, and the human ability to turn a mountain into a message. Standing at 233 feet tall, it is the largest stone-carved Buddha in the world, but its grandeur goes beyond physical measurement. It lies in what it represents. For over 900 years, generations dedicated themselves to the creation of this colossal figure. Monks, artisans, and ordinary workers shaped every serene detail of his face with hammers and chisels. His gaze, turned toward the river, was designed to calm the turbulent waters that once collided there, bringing safety to passing boats and hope to riverside communities. The story of the giant Buddha is deeply rooted in popular faith. It is said that a monk named Haitong began the project with the dream of saving lives. His determination was so great that when his work was threatened by lack of support, he gouged out his own eyes as a sign of total devotion. And so, moved by faith, the colossus began to take shape, carved directly into the rock. Jujigu. In the heart of Sichuan province, there is a place where nature appears hand-painted, with delicate strokes and impossibly vivid colors. Jujigu, whose name means Valley of Nine Villages, is a hidden refuge among mountains, forests, and lakes that shimmer like heavenly mirrors. A paradise where time seems to slow and where the land breathes ancient legends. The history of Jujigu began long before modern roads or international tourism. This valley was home to Tibetan communities who have revered the mountains as sacred entities for centuries. Local culture is intertwined with the landscape, and every lake, every waterfall, carries a name that echoes a legend. According to tradition, Jujigu was created from the love of a goddess for a warrior. A jade mirror, given as a symbol of affection, fell and shattered into 1,000 pieces, forming the lakes that now captivate visitors from around the world. Walking through Jujigu feels like reading a book of myths sculpted by nature. The lakes display colors that range from deep blue to emerald green, thanks to a high concentration of minerals and a limestone bottom. But science alone cannot explain such beauty. Locals still see the reflections as the eyes of the gods. As the first rays of the sun touch the surface of the five-flower lake, an explosion of color transforms the water into a liquid stained glass window. No artist's palette could replicate the hues that emerge with the dawn. It feels as if the sky itself has descended to the earth for a moment. Lijiang. Some places in the world resist time not with concrete armor, but with stories, with the subtle weight of tradition. Lijiang, in the heart of Yunnan province in southwestern China, is one of those places. A city where every cobblestone seems to whisper centuries-old tales, where wooden rooftops murmur ancient legends to the wind. From afar, Lijiang might be mistaken for a scroll painting, but as you get closer, it reveals itself as a living organism, pulsing with the geography and the soul of the Naxi people who flourished here between mountains and rivers. It is a city that does not merely preserve the past, it inhabits it. The Naxi, with their matriarchal culture and unique pictographic writing system, built an identity that defies time. In Lijiang, history is not something you read on signs or inside museums. It is felt in the songs that echo through the alleys, the quiet rituals, the colorful garments worn with pride. Walking through the ancient town of Lijiang is like entering a labyrinth where every corner offers a meeting with the unexpected. Narrow lanes, clear canals, stone bridges, and centuries-old homes form a setting suspended between the real and the imagined. The water that flows through the city, descending from snowy mountains, is more than a natural resource. It is a symbol of life, of continuity. Mount Wuyi. Among the rolling hills of Fujian province stands a world that seems to have been carefully sculpted by divine hands. Mount Wuyi, wrapped in mist and silence, is more than a natural setting. It is a sacred space where earth, water, and spirit meet in almost mystical harmony. The Wuyi Mountains are not the tallest or the most dramatic in China, but what they lack in vertical grandeur, they more than make up for in spiritual depth. Their red cliffs shaped by time cradle hidden valleys, serene streams, and stories that stretch back thousands of years. Every stone seems to hold a line of an ancient poem, and every curve of the river murmurs legends that echo through the centuries. The Nine-Bend River, or Jujigu, winds patiently through the mountains, creating a slow and contemplative dance between water and stone. Floating down this river on a small bamboo raft feels like entering a state of meditative drift. Nothing is urgent. Everything is essence. Here, nature teaches us to slow down. But Mount Wuyi is not just a geological marvel. It is also a cultural cradle. During the Han Dynasty, it was already a center for philosophical study, particularly Neo-Confucianism, a place where sages retreated to study, write, and seek deeper connection with the universe. To this day, ruins of academies and pavilions remain among the trees, silent witnesses to a scholarly past. The great thinker Zhu Xi, one of the most influential figures in Chinese thought, chose these mountains as his intellectual refuge. On its trails, one can still feel the echo of footsteps, and in the slowly falling leaves, perhaps fragments of ancient teaching still resonate. Yunnan. A place where mountains whisper ancient stories and rivers carve through valleys like veins pulsing with culture and history. In Yunnan, every turn in the road reveals a new world, and every village holds secrets dating back thousands of years. With rugged terrain and astonishing biodiversity, Yunnan is a natural sanctuary where nature flourishes in its most exuberant form. Mist-covered mountains, dense tropical forests, rice terraces cascading gently down hillsides, and crystal-clear lakes reflecting the sky like divine mirrors. Here, earth and sky dance in silent harmony. But Yunnan is more than a visual spectacle. It is a journey into the heart of human diversity. With 25 officially recognized ethnic minorities, this province is the epicenter of China's cultural plurality. Peoples like the Naxi, Bai, Dai, Yi, and Hani live side by side, each with their own languages, clothing, myths, and traditions. These are living cultures expressed in music, dance, festivals, and sacred rituals. Walking through Lijiang, one of the most renowned cities in the region, you feel the echo of ancient kingdoms. Its stone-paved streets, winding canals, and wooden structures preserve the memory of the Naxi people and the Dongba culture, with its millennia-old pictographic script and spiritual ceremonies that are still practiced today. The city is like a reliquary, where the past whispers to attentive travelers. Hainan Islands. Often called the Hawaii of China, this island is more than a tourist destination. It is a universe of its own within China's vast territory. Arriving in Hainan, you feel the warm breath of sea air, the salty aroma of the ocean, and the constant whisper of palm trees in the wind. The infinite blue of the sky meets the sea at a line that seems to dissolve the boundaries of the world. Here, the vastness of nature embraces and mesmerizes, offering visitors a rare, intense sensory experience. The landscape of Hainan is a blend of the tropical and the mythical. Dense forests cover gently undulating mountains, while rivers meander lazily toward the ocean. In its natural parks live endemic species, protected by environmental policies that have grown stronger over the past decades. The island is also one of the few places in China where the Hainan gibbon, one of the most endangered primates in the world, can still be found. Hainan is also a land of deep history and rich culture. The indigenous Li and Miao peoples inhabited these lands long before the arrival of the Han. Their traditions, passed down through generations, echo in vibrant festivals, hand-embroidered garments, ceremonial music, and legends of forest spirits, sea gods, and ancestral stars. It is a living heritage that coexists with the island's rapid development. Sanya, at the southern tip of the island, is the tourist heart of Hainan. With its luxury resorts, warm water beaches, and endless coconut groves, the city attracts millions of visitors every year. Mount Tai. Mount Tai, or Taishan, rises majestically in Shandong province as an ancient guardian of Chinese civilization. Among the 5 great sacred mountains of China, none is as revered or as steeped in mysticism and symbolism as Mount Tai. It is not just a peak, it is a natural temple, an eternal altar where heaven meets earth and emperors once communed with the gods. Since antiquity, Mount Tai has been a spiritual, cultural, and political axis. Climbing its steps is more than a hike. It is a pilgrimage, a journey into the very soul of Chinese tradition. For millennia, poets, monks, emperors, and hermits have etched their names into the stones of the mountain, leaving behind more than inscriptions. They left reverence, awe, and hope. Every stone, every path, every temple atop Mount Tai carries centuries of devotion. Since the Zhou dynasty over 2,000 years ago, China's rulers have ascended the mountain to perform rituals of sacrifice to heaven and earth. Reaching the summit symbolized a direct connection to the heavens, a legitimization of imperial power, a bridge between the mortal and the divine. At dawn, the mountain awakens in mist that dances like spirits along the slopes. The sun's first rays bathe the ridges in a golden glow, revealing shapes and textures that shift with every minute. Here, nature is not just beautiful, it is sacred. Mount Tai does not reveal itself easily. It demands silence, surrender, humility. Chongqing. Chongqing rises proudly between the Yangtze and Jialing rivers, defying both terrain and urban conventions. It is a city that seems to twist toward the sky, with buildings jutting out from cliffs, bridges floating above chasms, and stairways that seem endless. In Chinese imagination, Chongqing is synonymous with resilience, courage, and transformation. This city served as China's provisional capital during World War II, enduring bombings with bravery and unshakable spirit. Its streets hold the echoes of a nation that resisted, survived, and rose again from the ashes with the strength of its people and the warmth of its soul. The urban landscape of Chongqing is breathtaking. Towering buildings coexist with ancient alleys where time seems to stretch. The mist, which often drapes the city, creates an almost dreamlike scene, as if Chongqing were a mirage suspended between past and future. The rivers cut through the city like veins, fueling its dynamism and connecting neighborhoods, histories, and hopes. But Chongqing is more than concrete and fog. It is a living metropolis that breathes culture in every corner: shadow puppetry theaters, local operas, night markets, and alleyways where the spicy aroma of chili mingles with the city's vibrant chatter. It is a cauldron where old and new simmer together, forging a unique, untamed identity. Sujo. Sujo, the city that flourishes beside the Grand Canal, is a delicate gem nestled in Jiangsu province. Founded more than 2,500 years ago, Sujo is one of the oldest cities in China. Since ancient times, it has been celebrated as a center of culture, art, and wisdom. Poets, painters, and scholars have found here a sanctuary for inspiration. Among its stone alleys and willow trees swaying by the water, the soul of classical China still breathes. The gardens of Sujo are its most refined signature. Designed as microcosms of the universe, they combine rocks, plants, water, and architecture with a harmony that transcends the physical. Walking through one of these gardens is like stepping into a living painting, where every angle was designed to reveal a new scene, a new emotion. Here, silence is a form of art. Along the canals, small boats glide gently, guided by boatmen who sing ancient songs. The banks are lined with traditional houses, featuring curved rooftops, red lanterns, and lace-like wooden windows. Sujo is not a city to be rushed through. It is a place to be absorbed slowly, like a cup of tea that reveals its flavors little by little. Sujo silk is another of its treasures. Since the Tang dynasty, the city has been a center of silk production and trade, and its age-old techniques are still preserved today. Skilled weavers work in silence, as if threading the strands of time itself. The silk products of Sujo are not just textiles. They are expressions of a tradition that blends aesthetics, patience, and excellence. Guangzhou. It is at this crossroads of time and tradition that our journey begins. Founded more than 2,000 years ago, Guangzhou has witnessed dynasties, invasions, revolutions, and rebirths. The city was one of China's earliest gateways to the outside world, serving as a vital hub for maritime trade during the Tang dynasty, and later becoming the epicenter of commerce with the West through the legendary maritime Silk Road. The banks of the Pearl River whisper stories carried by the winds from the northern mountains. For centuries, foreign ships arrived at these waters bringing spices, silks, porcelain, and ideas, and departed with tales of a city that seemed mythical to many. Guangzhou was a living legend, shaped by exchange, curiosity, and the inevitable meeting of cultures. This cosmopolitan legacy is embedded in every corner. In the street markets, where the pungent aromas of spices linger in the air, one can feel the echoes of a mercantile past. The clang of iron pans, the cries of vendors, and the sound of Cantonese mingling with languages from other continents, Guangzhou is a polyglot symphony. And if the past lives in the alleys and the scents of street stalls, the future rises in steel and glass. The Canton Tower, like a beacon of the 21st century, pierces the sky with its presence. At night, its light show is a reminder that this is a city that did not merely survive time, it evolved with it. Guangzhou's skyline is a gallery of architectural ambition, where tradition and modernity stare each other in the eye. Chongqing. Among serene canals, ancient bridges, and the quiet memories of centuries of history lies one of China's most poetic and enigmatic cities, Chongqing. Located in Zhejiang province, this millennia-old city is more than a place. It is an idea of tradition, contemplation, and tranquil beauty. The waters of Chongqing carry centuries of culture. They have reflected the faces of poets and philosophers, heard the whispers of lovers, and witnessed revolutions and long silences. Along these canal banks was born and raised Lu Xun, China's greatest modern writer, whose words still echo through the city's alleys. Literature, in fact, pulses at the heart of Chongqing. The city breathes poetry, as if every stone on the cobbled streets holds a verse, and every soft breeze carries a lyrical memory. Poets of antiquity came here seeking inspiration, enchanted by the serenity that seems to rest upon everything. But Chongqing is not only a city of words, it is also a city of wine. Amber-colored and fragrant, Chongqing rice wine is a liquid heritage passed down through generations. Drunk during celebrations, rituals, or simple moments of pleasure, it is a symbol of local identity. More than a drink, it is a link between past and present. In its cuisine, Chongqing reveals a palette of subtle and sophisticated flavors. Dishes prepared with aged wines, slow marinated meats, and delicacies served with almost ceremonial precision. Eating in Chongqing is to taste history, to realize that here, every meal is a cultural act. Hong Kong. Ancient rocks, determined tides, and empires in constant conflict have shaped the silhouette of this singular peninsula. But what truly defines Hong Kong is not just its geography or colonial past, it is the resilience of its people, the tension between East and West, and the ongoing dance between freedom and control. In the far south of China, where the Pearl River meets the South China Sea, emerges a vibrant archipelago, pulsing with energy and complexity. At its core, Hong Kong is a metropolis that never sleeps. Its skyscrapers compete for space with mountains, and ancient traditions coexist with cutting-edge innovation. Founded as a British colony in 1842 after the First Opium War, Hong Kong became, for over 150 years, a strategic trading post for international commerce. During this period, it developed into one of the world's leading financial centers, where capitalism thrived under British governance. Yet this foreign rule never erased the Chinese spirit that always lived there. In 1997, the United Kingdom returned Hong Kong to China under an agreement known as One Country, Two Systems, promising that the city would retain a high degree of autonomy for 50 years. This promise marked the beginning of a new era, defined by a fragile coexistence between democratic ideals and the centralized authority of Beijing. From that moment, Hong Kong's history began to be rewritten with denser strokes. The city became the stage for mass protests, demands for political freedom, and resistance to the growing influence of mainland China. The streets filled with voices, banners, and hopes. The world watched, admiring and anxious. Despite increasing political pressure, Hong Kong maintained its economic significance. Home to multinational corporations, epicenter of billion-dollar deals, and a reference point in financial markets, its sophisticated infrastructure and strong legal system continued to attract investment. But freedom of expression, once a celebrated right, began to encounter invisible walls,